Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I'm Vineet Nair with my co-host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, sport, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing.
And we're back for episode number 35 of your favorite quizzing podcast show, Are You Quizzing Me? Well, I'm being a little presumptuous there, but since you're listening and you can't say anything to me right now, I'm going to assume it's your favorite show. Let's start off with the episode with the question that I'm going to ask you, my dear audience, for you to work out by the end of the episode. This is a question that neither Aditya does not know of. This is a fresh question for him as well, and I will be telling you the answer at the end of the episode. The question goes as follows: during the colonial period, when the English traveled to India as workers of the East India Company or as servants of the empire, most of them used to travel alone. This meant that they slowly acquired a taste for Indian food, which they modified to suit their tastes. The coffee houses of India too started modifying Indian dishes for its English customers, mulligatawny soup being a famous example of this. Later, due to a famous geopolitical and global development, British Memsahibs also started arriving in India, which meant that Indian food was gradually replaced by regular English roasts and pies at the British table. What geopolitical development brought this change? You have until the end of the episode to guess what the answer to this question is. And in the meantime, let's go fulfill a tradition, a long standing one, of Aditya answering his question from the previous episode. So, Aditya, what was your question and what is your quote unquote answer?
Last episode, we asked a question about which edible item is incorrectly assumed to have been developed by NASA for its space program, when in fact it had already existed before the space program came into existence, and that was Tang. So I asked, what in my made up history has been wrongly associated with the Indian space program, and in fact has existed long before the space program? And the answer is very obvious. This is going to sound a bit self centered, but I assure you this is completely accurate in my head. And that is my name. I am not named after the probe that is being sent to the sun. Aditya L1 is not who I am named after. I just want to clarify to any listener here. My name was given to me long before this particular space probe was launched. So, in case anybody was confused, I hope this clarifies
Uh, yeah, I guess that counts as an answer.
Vineet has been struck silent by my absolute genius. It's all right, Vineet. I do have that effect
Yeah,
on you
that
sometimes.
that was equal parts dad joke and equal parts narcissism. I really don't know what to say to that. But let's get on with the quizzing. So, Aditya, why don't you start us off with the question this week?
All right. Okay. So, since you asked us a question about history, which is our audience question, um, I think I might want to ask you something related to that. And this has to do with the 20th century, specifically between the years 1947 and 1965. A specific number of x, and if you identify x, number of x fell from 700 million to a mere 5 million. Let me repeat that. Between the years 1947 and 1965, the number of x fell from 700 million to 5 million. What is x?
Okay, from 700 million to 5 million. 700 million is a pretty big number. Not population. India's population was big, but wasn't that big during partition, or just after partition anyway. I'm going to need a clue. At least, what is this in relation to? Some kind of arrow to point to.
So we have started off vague, so let's get a bit more specific. You were actually on the right path.
Oh,
While it is not India's population, it does have to do with people.
I like the way you phrase that. Okay, so then this would be the population of the British Empire as a whole?
Oh, that's a very quick crack. I was hoping keeping this vague will prolong the question, but nothing gets Vineeth bogged down. Yes, this is the number of people under the British rule, British subjects in that era. From 1947, there were a 700 million, a staggering 700 million people under British rule. By 1965, that number was down to 5 million. Interestingly, out of those 5 million, 3 million were living in Hong Kong. So only
Wow.
2 million of them, which is less than half, were in the UK. So a huge contraction there. A quick math shows me that it is a 99.28% reduction. So 99% of British subjects were no longer British subjects after those 2 decades.
Wow. Yeah, talk about downsizing.
Indeed. If you're worried about losing your job, remember there were people who lost their British subject status. Though I imagine they were mostly on the happier side of that loss than regretting it.
Yes.
Anyways, your question next, Vineet.
Okay. So we've long been accused of not focusing enough on the arts. So today I have a couple of questions relating to arts, literature, culture, and pop culture. So this is technically not related to it, but yes, it's still art adjacent. Canadian singer songwriter Abel McConnell used YouTube to his advantage and gained initial exposure by uploading anonymously and using stage names. His music has been characterized as new wave, dream pop, and dance. And this unique approach to music earned him consistent acclaim since his debut in 2009. And this includes many superlative records as well. He's also dabbled in other artistic ventures like acting, and he's also received nominations for an Oscar and Emmy, as well as winning Grammy Awards, Latin Grammy Awards, and Juno Awards.
Right. That seems like it should be somebody I would know.
It is somebody you know.
I'm going to ask you for a specific clue. Roughly how old is this person?
I would say is 33 years old.
It's not Justin Bieber, right?
No, it's not Justin Bieber. No, the moment you hear Canadian and
Yeah.
YouTube, I knew you'd go to that, but no, it's not Justin Bieber. Frankly, I would say that he is an artist far superior to Justin Bieber. He is one of my of the current crop of musicians. He's one of my favorites. I'll give you another hint. This is a very indirect hint, but I first, and there's a very indulgent clue, so bear with me. I first heard his music when Tom Cruise performed one of his hit songs, lip synced to one of his hit songs on the Jimmy Fallon show.
I know what you're talking about. The moment you said Tom Cruise, I was thinking of the same video. Uh, I can't feel my face when I'm with you, but I love
Yes,
it.
yes,
Who's the singer though? Is it The Weekend?
yes. It is the weekend.
Right. Um, interesting.
Yeah, so he was born, Abel McConnell Tasfaye. That's his actual name. The Weekend obviously is his stage name. No one is actually ever named The Weekend. And the superlative record that I'm talking about, do you know what record he holds? I mean, like, this is like a massive record.
Most streams on Spotify.
Yes. So, Blinding Lights.
Blinding Lights is the most streamed.
It's a great song, one of my favorites of the past 10-15 years. It topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 weeks, then became the song with most weeks spent in the top 5 and top 10, as well as the first song to hold a spot in the top 10 on the chart for an entire year. Topped record charts in the UK and 36 other countries. On November 23rd, 2021, it was ranked as the greatest Hot 100 song in Billboard history. And on December 31st, 2022, the song overtook Ed Sheeran's Shape of You to become the most streamed song on Spotify.
I think that's the only piece of the trivia that I was familiar with because I have also noted that down. Most streamed song on Spotify is Blinding Lights by The Weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I
No,
like
but
the song. It's
it's
a
a
great song.
fascinating song. Very well produced song. It just
That's a very good description, also well produced. Because I'll be honest, I'm a music noob, but
mm,
so whenever people who are more aware of music in general would talk about production value or production quality of a song, I would not be sure what that means. But I think Blinding Lights is a very good example of a well produced song. You're right. Yeah, agreed.
by the way, do you know which movie he acted in?
Oh, yeah, that's actually an interesting question.
Yeah, he acted as himself, by the way. It was he acted in it as himself. It's an A24 movie,
Now that you say it, it
crime
sounds like I
thriller.
must have seen it or at least definitely heard of it, but no, I can't
Yeah, yeah,
recall
it
right
was
now.
on. It was multiple critics rated as one of the top 10 films of 2019.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I haven't watched it though. I've definitely not watched it, but I remember seeing it on multiple lists and I'm thinking I should watch it. What is the name?
It's Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler's Uncut Gems.
Wait, I have seen Uncut Gems. Oh
Um,
yeah, he is in it. Yes, you're right. Right. Weekend is in it. Yeah.
Yes, and he's also been nominated for an Academy Award. The song was from a movie. Do you know which movie it was? Obviously, that's the way you get nominated for an Academy Award if you're a musician.
No, I'm not aware of its song.
I'm like, okay, the song is called "Earned It." Okay, can you
Okay.
tell me which movie it was from?
I would be hard pressed to figure that out myself, but I'm just gonna take a wild guess. Moonlight.
Oh, 50 Shades of Grey.
Wow, Fifty Shades of Grey is an Oscar nominated film. Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
That's enough of the weekend. I mean, like the art is the weekend, not weekends. I look forward to weekends. They're my soul salvation. But yeah, so Aditya, hit me with your question.
Okay, this is gonna be a very specific trivia, but it's such an interesting piece of trivia that if you know it, it blows your mind. Akira Kurosawa, very famous Japanese director, considered one of the finest directors of the 20th century. He released his 28th feature film in 1990, and it marked the first film in 45 years on which he was the sole author of the screenplay.
Okay.
It is made up of 8 different vignettes and was categorized as magical realism and was, according to Kurosawa himself, inspired by actual dreams that the filmmaker had experienced throughout his life. It was this level of integrity that propelled the film into a whole new space. So it was considered almost unexpected from Kurosawa's filmography, and as most of his films are, pretty great as well. Now, one of these vignettes was a section titled Crows. This
Okay.
section of the film follows an aspiring artist who inadvertently enters the world of a painting and ends up meeting Vincent Van Gogh. Vincent Van Gogh, if you're being fancy. Who plays Vincent Van Gogh?
Okay. Can you tell me the name of the movie? What this movie was called, or particular this anthology? I think would be a better term for it. What is it called? Or is that giveaway?
No, no, I think I did mention the name. I'll say it again. The name of the movie is Dreams, and the name of the
Okay.
section is Crows.
Would I be okay? Was it the debut of some actor or something? Like their first major role that we've
And no, it is not this particular person's debut film. They'd done a bunch of smaller roles, cameos, and stuff before that.
for some reason, and with absolutely no nothing to back it up. Is it Vigo Mortensen?
No, it's not
Aragon
Viggo Mortensen.
himself? No, it's not. It's not him. Somebody. So this is 1990. Somebody who has to be active and somebody who's sensitive enough to play Vincent Van Gogh in a Kurosawa movie. Okay. Hmm. Okay, I'll need a clue.
This person is not known for acting.
Oh, is he a singer?
No, not a singer either.
A politician then?
No. From the entertainment
Okay.
space, but not an actor.
From the entertainment space, not a singer but an actor. Oh,
No, I said not an actor.
not an actor.
Not
Yeah, but
not a singer,
he's
neither a singer nor an actor.
okay, not an actor, not a singer, but somebody from the entertainment space. It's a very wide field, and considering this is the early 90s, I know nothing, just blank.
Let me mention some of the other stuff that this person has acted in, and I'm just seeing this right now, and I didn't know before.
Okay, okay.
The movie Shark Tale, Hugo, and then there are a bunch of smaller movies that I don't want to mention, and has appeared as himself in some TV shows. So let me name those as well: Entourage, 30 Rock, Curb Your Enthusiasm. These famous TV shows.
I've not been a famous fan. I'm not a fan of Entourage, so I've not watched it. But I guess there are a lot of cameos in it.
That's true. Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of those shows that people keep saying it's one of the greatest shows ever, but I just can't bring myself to watch it for some reason. But I have watched 30 Rock, so now that's really. But they had a lot of cameos on 30 Rock.
Same. Yeah. I
Lot,
think these are shows which have a lot of cameos, so it doesn't
lot
really
of
help.
cameos.
A lot of celebrity cameos, so these are people playing themselves, which was what
Yeah.
I just described for this particular person as well.
Entertainment industry person who's not a singer, not a an actor. Nope.
Okay. Let me give you a few more movies. I actually intentionally left out some movies, but I'm going to give you those movies now that this person has been in. And hopefully, this will get you to the answer. The movies are Gangs of New York, The Aviator.
Wait, is this Martin Scorsese?
Martin Scorsese is the right answer. Yes, it is.
Martin Scorsese played Vincent Van Gogh in a Kurosawa movie.
Just that sentence is insane, right? Just saying that sentence out
Exactly.
loud is so insane. And this is an actual thing that has happened. Akira Kurosawa directed a film which had bunch of short of films based off of his dreams. In one of those dreams, there is a story which involves Vincent Van Gogh, also a great artist of his own time, and that was played by Martin Scorsese. I just feel like I would feel like Mad Libs where you just have to fill in random things into
Yeah.
blank spaces. This is an actual thing that has
Wow.
happened.
So the crows in the title refer to his eyebrows, then I'm guessing.
Interestingly enough, I've seen stills. I've not seen the movie. I want to watch it sometime soon. But I saw some stills from the movie, and the eyebrows aren't even like hidden or anything. They very much seem to be a part of Van Gogh's face now. So I can I
Wow.
can now see why he was casted. Once you see those pictures, you can see why he was casted. He kind of fits the bill.
Okay, that was a great question. Really good question. Okay, following our theme of the arts, I'm going moving into literature. Samuel Beckett, author and playwright, someone I'm hopefully you're familiar with. Yes, Waiting for Godot.
Yes.
Samuel Beckett learned that he had received the 1969 Nobel Prize in Literature via a telegram from his publisher, which read, "Dear Sam and Suzanne, in spite of everything, they've given you the Nobel Prize. I advise you to go into hiding." The reclusive couple were concerned as they anticipated a spike in publicity and people trying to reach them. And they were right. Subsequently, when Swedish television called him for an interview, he agreed only with an absurd requirement, accomplishing both the channel's desire to have him for an interview and his own not to give one. What was the requirement?
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to just press the question
Yeah,
for the audience again. Samuel Beckett,
please.
famously reclusive author and playwright, came to know that he had won the Nobel Prize. He was not particularly interested in giving interviews and other things, and so subsequently, when Swedish television called him for an interview, he agreed to give the interview, but only with an absurd requirement. This accomplished both the channel's desire to have him for an interview and also accomplished his own desire not to give an interview. What was the requirement that Samuel Beckett had put forward?
I think he chose not to speak during the entire interview.
Yes, so technically the interviewer couldn't ask any questions. It is a silent interview.
Oh, that's so funny. Wait, so how does that work?
The best part of it, it's available on YouTube. And it looks like some kind of avant-garde horror movie where it's just silent. The camera is panning through houses and flowers, and then you have Beckett just standing there, not even looking at the camera. And he's got this really crinkled, craggly face, something with a lot of mileage on it. And the camera just, passes to the side of his face, captures him in another angle, from another location of the house. It's like 1.5 minutes of just pure weirdness. It's a silent interview, literally a silent interview.
That's insane. That's really funny. Okay. This wasn't part of my questions for today, but your question has inspired this.
Okay.
So, you spoke about an author receiving an award.
Hmm.
I'm going to talk about a singer. who also received an Academy Award. This particular singer did not expect to be winning the award for the Best Original Song in 2003. In the 2003 Oscars, the singer won the Best Original Song. In fact, it was such an unexpected win that this person slept through the ceremony at their home and wasn't there to accept the statue.
Okay.
In an interview many years later, the person has said, I think I was just at home with my daughter and I didn't watch it either. At that point in time, she had to be at school early in the morning, so I was probably sleeping. So there was probably found out the next day that they had won. So who is this person that I speak of who won the 2003 Oscar for Best Original Song?
2003 Oscars. That's 20 years ago. Hmm. Eric Clapton? No.
No,
And this is somebody famous, right? Obviously, I would have heard of this person.
absolutely.
Eminem's win came much later, right?
Let me not prolong a misery. It is Eminem. Eminem is the right answer.
Okay, okay. Because when you the clue was when you said daughter has to go to school, and how many fathers will actually especially from the entertainment industry want to miss an Oscar for something like this. So I was trying to think of famous fathers. I was trying to
Mhm.
attack the question from that way, and then Haley, obviously, like everybody who listens to Eminem knows Haley. So okay, so this is I think maybe Lose Yourself.
It is Lose Yourself from 8 Mile. It is the
Okay.
first rap song that won an Oscar Best Original Song award, which is why it was such an unexpected victory. Interestingly, 17 years later, in 2020, Eminem performed at the Academy Awards Lose Yourself. And it is one of those iconic performances, live performances. He did it to make up for his absence 17 years ago. And
Wow.
that is the history of Lose Yourself at the Oscars. Yeah. Inspired by your question just now.
Okay, just a small piece of trivia. This is not my official question, so don't count it. But do you know who won the first ever hip hop Grammy?
First ever hip hop Grammy. I would expect this is somebody totally out of the blue, out of the left field. I don't know.
Not particularly. He is known for this. He is known for
Oh,
being
okay.
a rapper as well. So
I don't know. It would be very surprising if it was in the 90s only that somebody won it. But if it is in the 90s,
it was 1989.
Tupac,
No, the first ever rap Grammy.
Dr. Dre.
No, not Dr. Dre. You can practically let me just say this upfront. You can forget everybody from both the East Coast and the West Coast crews. This guy didn't belong to either of them.
Oh no. Okay.
So it's not Sean Puffy Combs. It's not Snoop Dogg. It's none of these people. So
Got it.
it was part of a duo. A duo won it. It wasn't like one single person won it. The duo won it. If I tell you the partner, there are two people in that. One person is extremely famous, and the other one known to a little, to those who listen to hip hop and rap, and especially the early '90s hip hop and rap. So I'll give you the name of the less famous person, the less famous person from the duo, and you have to tell me the more famous person.
Okay.
The lesser known person is DJ Jazzy Jeff.
That does not help me at all. I guess I have not encountered this name before. Wow. No, I have no clue whatsoever. And since this is not an official question, I won't ask you for clues. So just tell me what the answer is.
So this is okay. This is from for the song called "Parents Just Don't Understand,"
Okay.
and it was the second single from the duo DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Oh, no way. Really? Will Smith?
Yes. Will Smith won the first ever rap Grammy in 1989.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, now
That
that you say
launched
it,
his
that
career.
he is known for hip hop, yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So that was
That's
my
really cool.
unofficial question. I managed to sneak one in. So now to my official question. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but maybe you can guess. So Trinny Woodall is an English fashion advisor and designer. Okay. She was
Mhm.
also a television presenter and author who was at a time, not currently, but at the time, was seeing Charles Saatchi. the ex-husband of famous celebrity chef Nigella Lawson. Nigella and Trini got into an online spat after Trini made some remarks which were construed to have been having mocked Nigella online. Soon after, Nigella Lawson tweeted her 560,000 Twitter followers with a hashtag recipe of the day. She tweeted a recipe with the caption, "Do I need to say anything more?" This was the reply to Trinny Woodall's, you know, quote unquote mocking of her on an online blog. What was the recipe? Which famous dish was this? Which famous dish or which famous recipe did she, tweet out?
I feel like I've read this specific trivia, but I cannot for my life remember what this is. No, what is the any clues?
It's an Italian dish. It's a very famous Italian dish. Chances are you may even have had it at some point in your life. I wouldn't say that it's very common in India. I don't think I've ever seen it on
Hmm.
any menu that I've seen anyway. That's a very limited sampling, but still, it's quite famous.
So not the most famous of the Italian dishes, but famous enough.
It is
Okay.
famous enough. I mean, like it's famous internationally. But I'm saying in India, maybe not so much.
Is it a pun of sorts?
No, but technique, no, not a pun. Actually, the literal translation itself is what Nigella was looking at. I'm guessing the literal translation
Oh,
of the name of the dish.
oh boy. I think we'll have to mark this episode as explicit because I'm gonna use some expletives. Is it something to do with the B word? Was she referring to her by as
No, no.
a
I just think
quote
of
unquote?
dishes. Just think of
Okay.
dishes, if Italian pasta dishes,
No, that's what I'm trying to
which
think because I can't think of any dish which has any insult in the name. I'm trying to think if these are the insults that are like a bitchy spaghetti. I don't know.
no, it's not bitchy spaghetti. It's a spaghetti dish, nonetheless.
Oh, okay.
Okay, shall I give you the literal translation of the name, and then let me see if you can give me the name of the dish. So the literal
Okay.
translation, the one that uh, Nigella had put forward later in a follow-up tweet, or I think it was in the same tweet or the follow-up tweet, she had put the translation as sluts spaghetti.
Oh,
Okay, but the
slug
actual
spaghetti.
more, yeah, but the actual more accurate translation would be in the style of the whore. So it will be spaghetti in the style of the whore.
Okay, so like spaghetti alla something, whatever
Yes,
the
yes,
word for
exactly,
whore
exactly,
is.
yes. Yeah.
Oh
You may
man, I
have
have
heard
no
this
idea.
in more in context of Spanish rather than Italian, even though the word has the same root.
Oh, this really will have to be marked as explicit because I'm. Is it puta? Because
Yes, it
that is what
is.
the first word. Oh, okay. That's the only word that came to mind when you said Spanish. Okay.
Yes, so it is spaghetti alla putanesca, which
Okay,
she
okay.
gave the translation as slut spaghetti, also known or more accurately known as spaghetti in the style of the whore. It's a dish from Naples.
Wow. I have not had this, but now I'm curious. I'll probably make myself some one of these days. Okay, all right. Fun.
Okay, your question, please.
Okay, so this question actually doesn't have to do with anything so far, so there's no pivot, but it does have to do with something that we spoke about many episodes ago, and that is one of my favorite moments from our series so far. And that moment
Okay.
was when we were discussing with Sai on the special episode that he appeared in, and I mentioned a phenomenal New York Times headline, which had to do with some research about eels and how they digest
Yes, I
food.
remember. I can't remember the pun exactly, but yes, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. Which is, of course, a pun on the song. So if you haven't heard it, please go listen to that episode. But this is not a New York Times headline. This is a BBC headline this time. So let me just describe what happened, and then you can tell me what the headline could have potentially been. Okay. So
Okay.
the British Ministry of Defense launched an investigation after emails containing classified information was sent to a close ally of Russia in a typing error. This is from 28th of July, so not even that long ago. So there was a typing error, and a bunch of emails were sent to a close ally of Russia, and there was an investigation launched because of that. Now, these emails were intended for the US military, which uses the domain name .mil. There was a
Okay.
typo in that, and it ended up with the wrong country, basically. So, two-parter. Firstly, A, who did they end up with? And B,
Okay.
what was the BBC headline that covered this particular news?
So this is a country which is friendly to Russia.
Yes.
Is it Moldova? MIL
That's
to
a
MOL
great
or something
starting
like that?
guess. That's a great starting guess, but no. I'll give you the continent. It is in Africa.
It's in Africa.
Yep.
First country that comes to mind is Mozambique, but I don't know how that could be typed wrong.
So it's not Mozambique. There are a bunch of African countries with starting with the letter L. So M, sorry, starting with the letter M.
Okay, was that a Freudian slip? No, it's not Libya or anything like that. No, right? It's not. Not.
Oh no, no, it is. It starts with the letter M. It just starts with the letter M.
It starts with the letter M.
I
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
I am my for the life of me, I can't remember which else starts with M. I'm trying to go through African countries one by one in my head. Uh,
Okay. Does Western Africa make it slightly easier?
no, not particularly. uh,
Yeah.
okay, Mali. Then it
Unfortunately,
will be Mali.
hey, bang on target. It is Mali, and you were right. It was a Freudian slip because the domain name for Mali is .ml,
M.
and
Okay,
when they were sending out the email, instead of .mil, which would have sent it to the US military, they missed out the I, and it went to the West African nation of Mali. Now,
okay.
the second part of the question, which is the fun part, what was the headline that BBC had when they were covering this news?
I am. You are the. I mean, like, let me just confess to the audience right now. I am very poor with puns. Aditya is the pun guru in our little duo. So this is basically torture for me.
I
Okay.
guess that's why this
From
trivia appeals to me.
no, I enjoy a good pun. It's just I can't craft any of them. No, nothing's
Okay,
springing to
let me
mind.
give you let me give you a hint. Let me give you a hint. It is
Okay,
the name of a famous 90s movie. It's a pun on the name of a famous 90s movie.
the famous '90s movie. You've got mail.
Yes.
So it'll be you've got mil. No, you got ml. Or no,
You've got Mali. That's it.
you got Mali.
And-
Okay, nice, nice. So let me go from Europe and Africa to Asia. With the suppression of the samurai caste, the knowledge of masters of different martial arts were pooled within committees and gave birth in the 1930s to a new modern practice, Taihojutsu, which corresponded to the martial arts. Taihojutsu incorporates the techniques of wrist control, arm control, posture, and immobilization, traditionally found in other martial arts. The objective of Taihojutsu is the smooth apprehension of an individual and does not take into account the safety of the opponent. It provides its practitioner with a calmer than average mind whose brain will resist the rise of stress and adrenaline typical of any violent situation. The very simple question: who was Taihojutsu developed for?
Interesting.
Let me just clarify, by who, I don't mean like one specific person, it's like more of a group.
Can you describe Taihojutsu again? You said wrist
So, yet
involvement.
incorporates the techniques of wrist control, arm control, posture, and immobilization.
People who use a wheelchair.
No, this is a little more general and easier. Actually, there's a clue in the question itself. I'll read that portion again, which should practically give away the answer. The objective of Taiho Jutsu is the smooth apprehension of an individual and does not take into account the safety of the opponent.
Oh, does not take into account safety of the opponent. So it's an inanimate object that you're fighting?
No, we are still talking about people. Taiho Jutsu
Right.
was developed specifically for a specific group.
Okay, so sorry, when you say specific group, is it to fight a specific group of people, or is it for the
No,
specific
for
group
a
of people
specific
to
group.
use?
Yeah, yeah. Say in a way, like I would say that Krav Maga was developed for the Israeli defense forces. Okay, I'm going to read the portion again. I think you focused on the wrong section last time when I read the clue, so then I'm going to say it again. The objective of Taiho Jutsu is the smooth apprehension of an individual and does not take into account the safety of the opponent.
The smooth apprehension of the individual. Smooth apprehension of the individual. So for the Tokyo police.
It is the Japanese police, yes. They have their own
Oh,
set of
okay,
martial
wow.
arts, just like the elite. So I found it very interesting that I don't think any other police force has
Hmm,
a martial arts discipline specifically developed for them. And what's terrifying is that it does not take into account the safety of the opponent, which means
it's
that the
very
policeman
scary.
has to just apprehend somebody, and if they break a leg, yeah,
Oof. Police brutality
hard
is
leg.
a real thing everywhere.
Yeah. So that I think is the last question for the day. We do not have any more time. Aditya, before I go to my audience questions answer, what is your question for this week?
I will just bounce off of the last idea that I will just go off of the last question that you asked. And my question is, if there was a technique developed for Delhi police, what would that be called? And that is hopefully a answer which will not get us into trouble, and you will find out next week.
Yes, so that was Aditya's question. And I am now going back to our audience question, which I had asked that during the colonial period, when the English traveled to India as workers of the East India Company or as the servants of the British Empire, most of them used to travel alone. This meant that they acquired a taste for Indian food, which then they modified to suit their tastes. Later, due to a famous global and geopolitical development, British Mem Saabs also started arriving in India, which meant that Indian food was now replaced by regular English roasts and pies at the British table. What development brought about this change? So, let me put it to Aditya first. Do you have any idea
Hmm.
what could be this? This is a little roundabout question because I usually ask something very simple for the audience questions. I decided to make them a little more challenging.
No, it's a great question. And obviously, I have no answer straight off the bat, but I'm trying to think of various domains that. So, first instinct is to say travel became easier, but steamships were there before that, I imagine.
Oh, you have reached the right domain. You are
Okay,
basically right that travel became easier, but then what could have made the travel easier?
that's exactly what I was trying to think of. What made the. Oh, is it the Suez Canal?
Yes, it is the Suez Canal. So the British
Okay.
did not usually bring their wives with them because they had to travel practically almost the whole coastline of Africa.
Hmm.
Once the Suez Canal opened, they were able to bring their spouses and other members of their family, the female members of their family, because the trip was shortened by quite a bit. And once they came in, they kind of took over and made brought England to India.
Very cool. Very cool. I believe the dish stew also has some origin from that, right?
So Ishtu is actually a bastardization of stew. So the
Yeah.
Irish stew, which is usually made with potatoes and carrots and
Mm.
vegetables like that. So that is the origin of Ishtu. Mulligatawny soup is comes from the Tamil Mulligatani, which literally translates to chili water.
Okay.
That's all for this episode. Thank you for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps us reach a wider audience, allows more people to discover and enjoy the show. We'd also love to hear from you. Feedback, suggestions, trivia. You can reach us on Instagram at Are You Quizzing Me? We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the future. Aditya, fact checker general, will be back after the musical sting, with our fact check for this episode. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.
See you guys next week. And here's the fact check for the episode. Martin Scorsese appeared in Shark Tale and The Aviator in voiceover roles. Under the current president, Maya Sands, since 2020, Moldova has been more pro-EU and NATO than pro-Russia. And that's all for the fact check.